hanging from the ceiling. It's pretty cool. There we go. That's better. All right, good. Yep. All right. Jump the gun there. All right, the time is now 7:04 p.m. May 3rd, 2025. We'll kick off the Montoursville Area School District Board meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And before we continue on, just want to let everyone know we met in an executive session prior to this to talk about personnel issues, things that we don't talk about in the public setting. And I appreciate your patience. We had a lot to discuss. We're starting a little bit late tonight. So roll call, please, Mrs. Smith.
Mr. Albert.
Here.
Mr. Badger.
Here.
Mr. Eisenhower.
Here.
Mr. Gardner.
Here.
Mr. Hausnick.
Here.
Ms. McCoy. Here. Mrs. Meyer. Here. And Mrs. Oberheim and Mr. Young are absent this evening.
All right, for recognitions and presentations today, we have Crabtree Rohrbox and Associates here tonight. Come on up.
Good evening. We're going to present to you an update on the Lighter Elementary School project. With me is Drew Kurjanik from our office, and we're going to give you kind of a feel of what we've been up to date, what we look forward to in the as we develop the project further, and talk about a little bit about the details. So I'm going to turn it over to Drew.
Good afternoon, everyone, or evening. Which one? All right, so we just want to give a quick overview of the project status of Lighter Elementary here. Scott and I will be talking about the design, updates on the design, the schedule, and the estimated project costs. So a design update. We'd like to quick go through things kind of what we accomplished to date here. We just got through a variance hearing with the AHJ. We were requesting civil variances for numerous things. Maximum building coverage, maximum impervious coverage, off-street parking, minimum space requirements, off-street parking, minimum stall dimension requirements, and extending a permit, the permit of a period from 6 months to 24 months to obtain a zoning permit. All of these have been since approved with no conditions, and we're moving the project forward then. From a design standpoint, we're working through schematic design and programming with the design team, both the owner and the actual design team. So we've established biweekly meetings with the district admin that we meet every 2 weeks, reviewing scope, revisiting budgets, revising the program, things like that. And we're also meeting with our consultants, civil, structural, MEP, mechanical engineering and plumbing, electrical and plumbing on a biweekly basis as well, moving the design from schematic into design development, and then eventually the construction documents to get the project out to bid. Upcoming items. Right before the school lets out for, or the district lets out for summer break, we plan on bringing in our interiors group. We like to sit down with the staff and teachers and review classroom layouts and other aspects of the schools to get the teachers' perspective on things from them, Then we take that, incorporate it into the design over the summer break, and then we'd like to reconvene with them kind of as a round two following summer break. Early September is ideal to revisit those designs, present kind of the ideas we came up with, and get additional feedback. Shortly after that, then we'll be going out to bid once we incorporate those comments and remarks. Shortly after school lets out for the summer, we'll be getting the entire design team together on site to do an existing building survey. We have obtained all the existing drawings of the existing facility. There are sometimes discrepancies between those documents. I mean, they date back from into the 50s, and there have been multiple renovations over time of that building. So we like to kind of double check those drawings, do a comprehensive survey of the space. Mechanical, electrical, plumbing will all be there, surveying those systems as well. And, just making sure that everything's in line and we can move the project forward accordingly. Additionally, then the Act 34 hearing, we plan to hold sometime in the summer of 25. And then just a quick update on the site plan, where it stands today. So this is the site plan that was presented at the variance hearings. You can see the existing building outlined in dark blue there, and then the proposed additions in yellow. Some of the design elements that are incorporated into this site plan are the biggest ones are the separation of the bus loop and the vehicular loop. So we have a new entrance coming off of Tool Street, wrapping around the building in the rear, attaching to the new parking lot, and then transitioning to the front of the building. In total, we're able to stack about 45-ish vehicles. The key word there being off-street, separate from the public right-of-ways on the site, and in a safer manner than what you guys are how they're stacking now. Addition to that is a bus off of Pool Street as well. I don't know if this has a pointer or not. But again, safety concerns with separation of vehicular parent drop off and the buses. And also it kind of simplifies the site too, because you don't have buses now maneuvering through the site. They're simply pulling off Tool Street there, and students are loading that way. Oops. So as you can see in red here, and what you saw in the site plan in yellow are the proposed additions. As most of you already know, this project is consolidating Leiter Elementary and Loyalsock Valley Elementary schools into one. So with that increased student population, we'll need to increase the size of the building essentially by adding these additional classroom wings. So we'll be doing K through 4, 6 wide, with an additional STEM classroom and some support spaces such as SGIs, small group instruction, and other special education classrooms. There's kind of a lighted version of that. Along with the building additions that I've shown in red, we're also defining what we're saying is more of a heavy renovation. And this is where we're removing walls, and these spaces are kind of almost completely gutted and renovated. Everything that's kind of grayed out is going to just be your moderate renovation. That'll be just simple finish upgrades, coats of paint, new flooring, new ceiling, base, stuff like that. And then all the existing windows will also be replaced as part of this project. And then just to give you a quick idea of what this may look like from the exterior, these were quick renderings we did for the variance hearing board, just to give them a visual on, what these additions may look like, the materiality we're using, and then emphasizing that bus pull off of Tool Street there, where you can see to the right of your screen, and then that's moving north down Tool Street, I believe. I'll now turn it over to Scott to go over schedule and budget.
Any questions so far?
How many classrooms are you adding on?
We are adding a total of, it's a good question,
So it's seven, if you want to go back to the.
Yep.
So it's 7 plus a STEM classroom, in that centralized wing, and then an additional, 3, off that northwestern wing, and they'll be part of that kindergarten section 5.
Okay, and are we figuring a little wiggle room here?
Yeah, we actually, when we first did the first iteration of this, we actually had a little bit less classrooms. We based it on the enrollment projections, which for those of you around when we did the study, we projected declining enrollment. The district's been declining over the years, so we're actually using a forward projection of declining enrollment in our capacity calculations. But the district thought we needed to have a couple extra flex classrooms to handle any bubbles or anything that might occur in the future should that, should you not decline to those projections. So we do have a little bit of extra space worked into here.
Yeah, because I think that's, I mean, that was one of the big things that we were getting feedback on, is we do not want big classroom sizes.
Yep.
So, it's better now than later.
Yep.
So if you're putting an additional, you said 2 or 3?
Total, no, it's.
Or you're a little bit of extra space, so.
Oh, yeah, an extra, yeah. So the first iteration had, as Drew mentioned, we're 6 deep, which means 6 classrooms per grade. The first iteration had 5 classrooms per grade with a couple extra flex classrooms to handle bubbles. The decision was to go a full 6 classrooms per grade for each grade level. So there'll be adequate space for smaller class
So
sizes.
you have the potential of having nobody in one of those classrooms.
Well, I think the goal would be to balance that, or depending on teacher staffing, you might have a vacant classroom, but I think if staffing's there, then I think the goal would be to lower that class size.
So you kind of like buy the Mountain Dew, buy 2, get 1 free. So maybe we can go.
No, it's not. Not free.
Well, unfortunately, we don't bid the project. We don't decide the construction costs. We just design it. So
What was so I noticed right away there were 6 per grade, which is awesome. What was the basis of capacity? Like, so did you do kindergarten smaller, or, I mean, you went 6 per grade, so what did you base the classroom size on?
the classroom size are based on your existing. Kindergarten is larger, so it's
Right.
like around 1,000 square feet, and then your existing classrooms are around between 850 and 900, around 900 square feet
Okay,
for the new classrooms that we added on here.
okay,
So.
thank you. Oh, one other question. You said you were talking to the teachers. Will you be including teachers from both schools, or is that up to the administration? You're inviting
Yep.
both schools? Okay,
Will be a representative.
okay, thank you.
So schedule, as Drew mentioned, some of the things that we've been up to date, we've been working on this since the fall. We took a little pause with the conditional use. We didn't want to get too far ahead of ourselves in case, the variance hearings, in case something happened there. So we're back on track now. We're still on schedule to open this 27-28 school year. So there you'll see the design schedule in green at the top. So we're looking to go out to bid after the start of the new school year. Once again, we want to have the teachers, once they come back, have the final review of the plans, and then we'll be ready to release for bids. At the same time, on a parallel schedule, our civil engineers going through the municipal process with land development approval with Montoursville Borough. So we're looking to bid in October, November timeframe, and then award contracts by the end of the school year in December. By the end of the year in December. And it's about, the key here is we want to get 2 summers of construction. So that's why we kind of built the schedule the way we did. They're not going to probably mobilize in December. They're going to be getting a lot of their contracts in line and submittals in line and long ordering of long lead items. We'll probably phase the construction where they start in the spring on the additions. We need those additions so we can have swing space to try to have as little disruption as possible during construction. So once again, we'll focus on those 2 summers. Will be the bulk of the interior renovations. But then we'll look to use those additions to phase kids around, move classrooms around as we begin to renovate the rest of the building. Drew mentioned the moderate renovation areas. So we're still going to be going through there, replacing the HVAC system, all new lighting, finishes. So those spaces have to be evacuated in order to renovate them. And as we get more detail on what that phasing schedule look like, we'll share it with the board. So this is our estimated project cost. I always say this is As the project develops, this ebbs and flows. So this is kind of a snapshot of where we're at now. The existing building renovation, you see there at the top of about 66,000 square feet is right around 10 million. A lot of those are what we call the systemic building upgrades. So once again, upgrading the building current standards. And then some of that includes reconfiguration of the spaces, getting the secure vestibule, things like that in there. The additions are just shy of 19,000 square feet. And that's, so the cost, estimated cost for that is about 6.8 million. And then we have escalation contingency. When contractors bid it, they'll bid to the midpoint of construction. So we got to forecast out what escalation is. We're using a conservative 3% per year right now. We have some also some estimating contingency in there. Then one other thing that's kind of popped up in the past couple of months here, I'm sure everybody's aware of the tariff impacts that are happening out there. We are seeing a pretty big significant impact currently on bids. We're hoping that settles down a little bit by the time we get to bid your project. But right now we have about between 1% and 2% to handle that tariff impact. We'll get a better feel of it at the end of the summer here where we stand, and hopefully it doesn't increase from there. But you know, change, as everybody knows, it changes day by day. So that gets you a subtotal, that 19.7 million. That's what we expect to receive from the contractors when we bid it out. That's our estimating cost of construction. And then below that, we have construction soft costs, which includes testing, inspections, regulatory review fees, things like that. And then project soft costs, which are design fees, financing fees, and furniture, FF&E, which is furniture, fixture, and equipment. So any like tables and chairs and the loose equipment that's not part of the construction contract that the district buys separately. That's all in that line item below, TVs, things like that, cameras. So that brings you down to the total project cost of 23.8 million. So that gives you an overview of where we're at, where we're heading. The next time you'll see us, we'll talk about the Act 34 hearing. There's a whole process involved with that. The board will have to adopt the maximum building construction costs, and we'll talk more further on in the summer about what that's involved and set the date for that. Any other questions for us? Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I'll just comment, that is the first time, and it's because of some of the work we've done here recently that I've seen the number that size. So we have a lot of work to do to continue our discussions and trim that down. Where again, are not raising taxes to cover the cost of this project. And we have to hold the line on some of our costs. I know a big thing for me was making sure the kids had new cubbies to move into. Those, I think you said, were the casework and such were coming in at $400.
For the existing classroom, about 40,000. When we did the study,
Yeah.
we didn't have those.
So
part of it, but I think that
those are things we have to continue to discuss to trim this number down. We discussed flooring, looking at what we can keep there because some of that has been replaced recently. So there's still a lot of work to do. I was a bit stunned at that number today when it came through. So we'll continue plugging away on it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right, moving on to the reading of the minutes. This is approval of the regular meeting minutes from the April 8th, 2025 and work session minutes from April 22nd, 2025. I'll take a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Any questions, comments? I missed the student.
Yeah, we have ag here.
Okay,
tonight.
cool. We'll vote on this and we'll go back. All right, so we got a first over here. We get a second?
Yep.
All right, any comments on that? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, that was just a test to make sure that Mr. T was paying attention. He passed. Good job. It's kind of things I have to do once in a while. We'll keep back to it. So we'll go back to the public comment or content
You and
section.
everybody else.
So we have Noah Phillips from the Ag Days here today.
Hello, everyone. Thanks very much for having us here tonight or this evening. I'm Dylan Saul, the FFA chaplain.
I'm Connor Campbell, the FFA Sentinel. This is the first year that we've had Ag Day at the high school. This is also the first year that we've had a 2-day event, one open to the students and one open to the public.
Ag Day was May 2nd and 3rd. There's roughly 300 students who attended. fourth graders from the Valley and Lighter, as well as seventh graders from the middle school.
The seventh graders arrived in the morning and the fourth graders, excuse me, arrived in the morning. And the seventh graders arrived in the afternoon. There was a total of 16 stations, which ranged from a variety of animals like goats, miniature horses, lambs, chickens, and dogs, as well as tractor safety, logging safety, and dirt bike safety.
We were very thankful to have the Game Commission and the mobile blacksmith, Seth Green attend, as well as contributions from Fish and Boat Commission.
Not only was it interesting to see the younger kids get excited for ag, it was also very neat to see our FFA members get involved. It was also very neat to see our older peers come out and enjoy ag day.
Yeah, I had a station for Ag Day, and it was neat to see. I used in my business, so it was neat to see the way the students got involved and how excited they were for Ag Day and how excited they were to get out of the classroom. I also found it was interesting to see how the kids, how many of them, I asked them, I said, I mean, fourth graders, obviously their view is going to change, but especially seventh graders, how many were interested in taking ag class when they get possibly older. I asked them the question of what they thought ag was, and a lot of them thought it was just farming and stuff. So I tried to explain to them how a lot of what we had there was ag related. I mean, a lot of what you do, a lot of what you eat and wear is ag related. Mr. Phillips has taught us, and I just think it was a great day, and I think all around I have some pictures, I guess.
Yep, so this is our first year that we can join Tractor Day as well with like Ag Day. So we had a total of 6 tractors come in, the ones hiding behind the group of kids. So that also played along with our tractor safety. And then this is up front. Sorry, we had all the animals out in the practice field. We tried not to like destroy the practice field with all the stations. So we kept them up front. Everything was comfortable, great. And those are just some of the pictures of the kids with the dogs. We had cattle versus house dogs. And then that, you can barely see his head, but that lamb there is, his name's Rocket. He was graciously brought in by Mr. Phillips. So we've been raising him, and that's Michaela Phillips and Jillian Koenig. They use Rocket as their SAE, supervised agricultural experience, this year. So it was a great way for them to show off the hard work of raising Rocket. And that's the miniature horse station with Desiree Neidig and Novella. I'm not real too sure how to pronounce her last name. Excuse me. So then this is also the fishing station. This is run by Noah. I'm also not too sure on his
Yeah,
last name.
freshmen.
Excuse me. Yes, they were a lot of freshmen. Jacob Schoen and then Brennan Lynch. They did a great job with implementing a classroom setting, but also keeping it like interactive. So they had the pamphlets provided by Fish and Boat Commission, as well as a double-sided coloring paper where they could color a bluegill as well as I think it's just a turtle. And then this was the other game commission station that came in. He focused on pelts. A lot of the kids really enjoyed this. A lot of there were skulls there. He defined the difference between herbivore, omnivore, and then carnivore. Got very good feedback on that one. And this was Mr. Mackinus. He presented his we try to keep it so like it wasn't just mainly ag, because ag is a very broad term when it comes to doing things as well as jobs.
We get the whole ag department involved because it's ag day, so we figured getting metal, wood, and ag involved. Getting people familiar with the whole ag building.
Oh, let's skip on. This is the mobile blacksmith that came in. A lot of kids also really enjoyed this one. He did multiple demonstrations, very appreciative towards him. And this is inside of our animal lab. This station, there was chickens and chicks. This was Harley Chamberlain and Brady Brown. They talked about our rooster Oreo. He was the lone rooster from our batch of meat chickens earlier this year, as well as 4 chicks brought in. And this is our logging station ran by Levi Eck, Isaiah Pepperman, Savannah Folkrod, and Austin Street. They did a very good job. Everything was very safe. And they also did a lot of demonstrations. And this is back out front with Ryan Aguirre and I'm drawing a blank here. Landon Moorhart, excuse me. Ryan brought in his goat, William, and he talked about him and let the kids pet him as well. Yeah, and these are just pictures of Ag Day.
It was all around, I think, well, it was all around a good day. It definitely, the next day with the public, I thought it went very well, having the public involved and good.
That's pretty much it. Thank you for having us. Have a good one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice job, Boas. Thank you. Mr. Dietrich, you got?
I do
anything?
have I missed the last board meeting, apologies on that, I was in Hershey with the FBLA, we meet at the state leadership conference. And as the board meeting was happening, Andrew Zhu was placing 7th in financial computation or business calculations. I placed second in UX design. Andrew Truman, Shaw Simpson, and Jimmy Messina were placing first in sales presentation, and Brady Cohen and Carly McKenna were placing third. And the 6 of us, Shaw, Truman, Jimmy, Brady, Carly, and myself are all headed to Anaheim this summer to be at the national level in our respective events. So that's where I was. Last 2 weeks. Last week, 2 weeks, we had the concert series at the high school, started with the choir concert last Monday, I believe. That went really well, followed by on Thursday by the high school band concert, where it was band and concert band and jazz band. And then I will give a shout out, last night there was the elementary choir concert here, well, not a high school concert, it was at the high school, and I ran the light spread, and that was pretty good. So we had the FBLA concerts. And then, since I am the student representative, one thing that is clearly on the students' minds and also on the parents' minds, it seems, is the physics program and the concern of what's happening with physics. Are we having it at all? Are they going to Loyalsock with what's happening? But clearly, you're going to hear from that in a second. So that's all I have.
All right, thank you, and congratulations.
Thanks.
Nice job. First grade. All right, moving on to the prior presentation period for the evening. Tonight we have Carrie Pauling.
Thanks for having me, Jack. Thanks for that transition. That was perfect. So I'm here to advocate today. I'm Carrie Pauling from 312 Tool Street. I have to say that. I'm here to advocate for the 35 to 37 11th and 12th graders, my son included, who plan to take honors, or I'm sorry, he was the AP Physics, honors in AP Physics next year. We all know that physics is a foundational science class for careers in engineering and research and development, even finance and economics, and obviously to produce more physics teachers, which we need. So this is super important. As we know, Mr. Barber is planning to retire, well-deserved after 30 years of teaching, but that leaves us without a physics teacher. The administration has made it clear that we're not going to replace Mr. Barber because there's not enough students interested in taking physics. It's not financially sustainable to keep a full-time physics teacher. But you've also expressed, Mr. Tormino, we talked today, a strong desire to keep physics instruction available to students. And the district has posted for a part-time physics instructor. So problem is, if there's a lack of candidates, is it possible, we're talking about options here, is it possible for Mr. Barber to return to service under the PSERS Emergency Exceptions Clause without jeopardizing his retirement pension? I did a little research, and you guys probably know all this too, but the return to service exceptions do list emergency exceptions. A member can return to service and continue to receive retirement benefits from PSERS if 1, there is a shortage of personnel, or 2, an emergency creates a serious impairment of service. With only 14 physics teachers certified last year, we are in an emergency. I would say that's an emergency. Also, I'm no expert, but I do work in state government. I have a government contact at PSERS, and I spoke with him today. And he said it is definitely possible. There's a viable possibility of hiring him back as a substitute or maybe part-time. And the thing to do is to submit a letter to PSERS asking. The worst they can do is say no. So that is still, I think, an option that is viable. I know that you guys talked about dual enrollment, talking about schools with Loyalsock. I was curious if you talked to any other schools besides Loyalsock, Muncie, South Williamsport, Montgomery, or even maybe East Lycoming. I know considering logistics of our students going to Loyalsock, I think that's an unworkable option just because of the way that they teach in the block, so semester block format. And we certainly don't. So merging those schedules for students who would go to Loyalsock to take that, I'm not certain how that would work. I think other parents might talk about that a little bit. So I wanted to stick more with the budget. I know that you'd said removing physics gets us to a balanced budget, but at what cost to the students? What's in our reserve fund balance now? And what expectations do we have from the state budget? It's not been voted on yet, so I don't know how much we're going to get from the state, but there is some plan to still offer students physics, and it will require some budget. It's definitely not 23.8 million like the changes at Lighter. It's a lot less than that, but there are costs involved. There's transportation. Are we doing buses? Would we do vans? Would the students drive themselves? I know with Med Careers, the cost of 1 day a week of transportation for 21 weeks to Geisinger is $8,610. If the students drive themselves, excuse me, is there parking available? Are there insurance issues? Are there parking fees? Is there a tuition cost? There are costs involved. So they're not exorbitant, but there are definitely costs involved. I think we just need to look at this budget-wise. What is the opportunity cost for having students go to another school versus figuring out how to bring somebody here, or potentially, I don't know, but have Mr. Barber as a part-time or a substitute. Just to close, I want to touch on the quality of education. Last weekend, Madison Ramsey, who was our 2021 valedictorian, she graduated from Washington and Jefferson College, and she was once again the valedictorian of her class there. I mean, that's amazing. Way to represent Montoursville. She graduated with a degree in physics, and she's planning to get her PhD in material science and engineering. My daughter graduated in 2022. She did pretty well here. She's at Penn State working on her environmental systems engineering degree. Because she had access to physics, especially AP physics, she had a competitive edge, and she is doing well and working towards that degree. She was able to skip an intro class of physics at Penn State. It's helpful on the bottom line. And it's helpful for her to get moving in her degree. The 35 kids here, and I know some of them are here, who want to take honors or AP physics, they are worth it. We have this awesome FFA program, FBLA program. We offer a lot for well-rounded education, and it is super vital, and physics is one of those things. I know Mr. Barber is willing to bridge the gap until another solution can be found if it's at all possible. But possibilities is really what we're talking about. So I'm just asking the board to not make any hasty decisions without looking at all of the options in a transparent way. If we can create a committee to look at things more closely, I am willing to volunteer to be on the committee. I think we should include Mr. Barber as the expert in physics here and some board members, and just keep the quality of education in mind here at Montoursville. Thank you.
That was excellent. Thank you very much, Mrs. Pauling. All right, we'll now move to the public comment portion of the evening. This is for residents and taxpayers to comment on matters of concern, official action, or deliberation before the board. Ms. Ask, if you come up to the microphone, please state your name and your address, please.
Ron Snell, Lower Manor. I'm curious as to why the CR presentation for the night wasn't on the agenda for the community that would be interested possibly to come and hear what they had to say. And the other thing I'm curious about is that $23.8 million. Is there anything in there that includes any money in there for change orders, should they happen, which they will? We all know that any project has change orders and they need to be paid for. So I'm curious to know if any money in that 23.8 million is for change orders. And Mr. Taramino, I realize that nobody wants to answer my questions here at the meeting, but you have my information to get a hold of me and let me know the answers to those two questions. Thank you.
Will do.
I'm Paul Rinker. I'm going to pass on the address because the Sun Gazette doesn't seem to be able to refrain from printing it when I say it. So you all know that I'm from here. I'm kind of excited about this budget thing, to see what kind of tax relief we're going to get this year with the $10 million we're saving and the projected decline in enrollment. I mean, fewer students means fewer expenses. So we should be saving a ton of money. And I expect to see that reflected in the tax rate. Now, to tell you the truth, I don't really expect to see that because I know that whatever is saved will be blown somewhere else. But that's not the way it should be. We shouldn't just keep increasing the cost of education because we can dig deeper and deeper into the taxpayers' pockets. We never seem to cut anything. Got programs that have been going on forever. They're probably doing nothing. We're still paying for them. We're still paying for outside people to do curriculum for us when we've got a whole staff of qualified, certified teachers who are educated to do just that. We've made them into babysitters while we pay somebody else to develop our teaching materials. I'll bet most of these teachers would love to actually teach. So why don't we let them and stop throwing money to outside consultants and firms to come in here and tell us how to teach our kids? I mean, homeschoolers do that. They buy curriculum. And you know what? They don't pay what you do for it. So come on, give us a break. Go back to your budget, look at what you can get rid of it, and give us a little relief. Instead of sitting there satisfied that you're not going to raise our taxes for 1 year. Oh, thanks for the favor. I expect you people on the board to look at that. I mean, we did have one board member a few years ago, I don't know anything about budgets. Well, I expect you to know something about budgets if you're going to be on the board. And I expect you to be on these people working on the budget to control it, to get it to a reasonable level. I'm all for teaching our kids. And I even like to have some extracurricular activities for them. But we don't have to bankrupt taxpayers to do it. Thank you.
Howdy, Brad Deacon, 431 Cherry Street. I was a teacher here for 32 years, went here for 12 years. I've had 4 of my kids go through this school district, so I'm pretty vested in what we have. And I'm gonna reflect what Mrs. Pauling was talking about. Physics is the most exact and fundamental science. It was developed by Galileo and Newton back in the Dark Ages. And it's really what propelled us from the Dark Ages into the Renaissance and the Age of Enlightenment. It teaches you how to calculate, predict, interpolate, estimate, calibrate, correlate, extrapolate, classify. It's the best course at teaching those skills. I taught chemistry 32 years. And I tried to teach those skills, but it's a lot easier to see it in physics with a pendulum swinging or a ball rolling down the hill than it is watching a chemical reaction, maybe seeing a color change. So physics is just fundamental for that. It's a required course in obviously engineering. Everybody thinks physics, they think engineering. But keep in mind that computer science has to have it, medical school requires it, dentistry, veterinary, architecture, physical therapy, kinesiology, robotics, geology, material science, forensics, chemistry, electronics, astronomy, and oceanography all require physics. Now, can they take it in college? Yes. If we don't offer it here, and I know we're at a fix here, we got to try to figure out a solution. Can they take it in college? Well, I have some quotes from some old students. It is really difficult to get into competitive programs without high school physics. Let's see here. A virologist in grad school, getting for a doctorate in virology, did not take physics and could not get into Pitt's engineering school. Applied and they said, without physics, you're not getting into Pitt engineering. So he went into virology instead, which is great because he's a really good virologist. Another student of mine is a chemist. They said that physics was fundamental to start engineering. So this was a chemical engineer at Pitt. Physics was essential to get into it. And they estimate they would have lost probably 1 to 2 semesters to take the remedial physics to get ready even to start the engineering program. So that would have cost $32,000 probably for this student. Another career military quote was pretty much, I'm paraphrasing, I would not have gotten into West Point without physics. An RN told me, this particular RN did not take physics. I would have had a much easier time in biomechanics if I had taken physics in high school. Another geoscientist. I've had some pretty good students over the years. I was a little spoiled. I wished I had taken physics in high school. When I took it in college, I skated by with a C, barely. That's a quote.
Mr. Deacon, sir, I don't want to cut
Yeah.
you off. You have you're past your 3 minutes.
Can I give
And we have 2 more. Yeah, that's
2 more
it. We got a
quotes?
room full of people.
All
that
right,
we wanna
I got
ask
you. I didn't know how long this was taking.
But you also, there's another section, a portion of this afterwards, if you want to come back up and talk more.
Okay.
You're more than welcome to do.
I'll just end with my own personal. I took group, some of you maybe had group or avoided group for physics. I was a young kid, had no clue what I wanted to do. Took physics and that sort of clicked with me, that logic, that math. And, I wouldn't be here. I had no clue what I wanted to do. I wouldn't be here without having had physics. So we need to do something, whatever we can do. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Meg Altabrando. I'm the computer science and STEM teacher at McCall. Usually I'm here advocating for computer science, which I'm always happy to do, especially for engineering. I know 2 graduates of Montour-Sawyer School District who went into engineering, and their biggest heartache was that they couldn't do the computer science. So I advocated for that, as you know, tremendously. My own son is interested in engineering career, and he will be in a detriment if he is not capable of taking another physics course. I originally was an engineer major. But at that point, I was a group person. I had group for physics and I was admitted to an engineering program. However, as we know, that has escalated in the last years. And they need to have AP physics. They need to have honors physics. If my son applies for college next year without AP physics, he's going to be against students that have AP physics. Will he be a contender? No. Not in a competitive coursework. So I'm being here as a parent. I've advocated for computer science. I've advocated for additional education. I was a student here. I'm a teacher here. I've been a member of this community since I was 4 years old. I want to have the same opportunities for my son and for the all students and parents that are here that I was enabled. That was not an opportunity for me at that time. It's an opportunity for our students now. It's not competitive for them to go into a course that they are not prepared for. As Brad spoke earlier, they're going to take coursework that they're not prepared for, or they will have to make up coursework that they're not prepared for, and they won't get into the programs, the competitive programs. And that's not what Mature is all about. I enjoyed the music program last night. I was here for my granddaughters last night, and we are distinguished in music. We are distinguished in theater from the Ray of Lights Awards this past weekend. We are a distinguished school district. I think we need to continue being a distinguished school district, and that means being academically competitive. Please consider keeping the physics program. Thank you.
I'm going to be quick. I'm Emily Dietrich. His mom. I agree with everything, so I'm not going to revisit that. I know that many of you know that this is important. I urge you to be creative. Carrie gave you some options. One thing I want to make sure that we really think about is in that dual enrollment is not an online course. If you talk to physics teachers, those kids need to be dropping eggs from the second floor. They need to know. If you haven't seen that, if you don't know what that is, I urge you to come in and talk to the teacher, talk to these kids, talk to that one. So I'm not eloquent with this. I will say that the kids, with regards to getting into school, into colleges, there are colleges that will not look at our kids if they do not have physics. Talk to local college admissions. If you need their names, I can get them to you. I worked for one of them, not in admissions, but for the university. So please many of you know that this is important, but really think about the impact on your need to balance a budget, but then also serve our kids. So thank you.
Good evening. Mark Davidson, 315 Mountain Brook Lane in Toursville. I have some prepared remarks here, but listening to Mrs. Pauling here and everyone else, I'll just read through them. A lot of it will be reiterating what has been said. Again, I'm Mark Davidson. I'm here to speak on behalf of my son, Austin, who's currently a sophomore. He's currently taking honors trigonometry, honors chemistry, and AP biology. He has signed up for honors physics next year, but after watching the April 8th board meeting, we understand that honors physics will not be offered in-house. The board is exploring alternatives for its entire physics curriculum, and it appears that the recommendation is going to be to partner with Loyalsock High School in their physics program. We have some concerns with that option, as Loyalsock operates, as you know, on a 4-block semester schedule. And Montoursville, of course, is the 9-period full year schedule. We believe that these conflicting schedules would create many complications for the students. For examples, besides the honors physics, our son also signed up for 3 additional AP courses and another honors course for next year. A semester of physics at Loyalsock would require up to 4 periods daily for half of the year. So how is that going to affect his year-long schedule at Montoursville? And his situation is not unique. It's likely that every other student, many in this room probably, that were signed up for a physics class at Loyalsock will face the same obstacles. Obviously, there's the issues of cost for transportation, and will there be tuition cost as well? I believe Mrs. Pauling, she talked about the potential for partnerships with the other school districts in the area, Muncie, Southside, Montgomery, Hughesville, those schools. There was also a comment in April about the difficulty in finding a full-time or part-time instructor. We are aware that following the April meeting, a certified candidate came forward to propose a temporary full-time, I apologize, a temporary in-house part-time option that would satisfy the commitments to the current Montoursville students, as well as allow the administration and board more time to explore all viable permanent options. A temporary in-house position should be at a reasonable cost, as there would be no fringe benefits involved. It would be a instructor for a couple courses, couple class periods a day. I can't imagine that that's gonna be up over and above what it would cost for transportation and tuition outside of the district. We urge the board to consider all the available options for this issue and the impact each one has on both current and future students that choose advanced academic opportunities at Montoursville. But please, the Loyalsock option just does not seem like a viable option, and the scheduling conflicts just seem insurmountable to me. So with that, thank you.
Hi, good evening. I'm Patty Davidson, 315 Mountain Brook Lane as well, also here on behalf of Austin. I have to put my cheaters on because I also am a group student. So we're all sitting here listening to every practical reason given for keeping physics. And I know you're not saying that you're eliminating physics altogether. You're trying to find a viable option. We've all talked about all of those obstacles as well. And I'm sure that you'll talk about them more. But I want to talk to you about the emotional side of this, to your emotions. I agree wholeheartedly with all of the practical reasons. But let's talk about the emotional perspective that may affect all of us. Highlights profound lasting impacts on the lives of our students, our community, even our healthcare system that we all rely on, that every single one of us is going to need. I'm not in education. Obviously, I'm in healthcare. So I'd like to point out that I understand the difficulty in balancing and managing a budget, but in my field, when weighing those financial constraints against fundamental need to provide high quality patient care. So lives are at stake. Every decision at its core is not about numbers. It's about people. And that's what this decision needs to be about the people, the students, and the people that they will serve. Physics is a cornerstone of medicine. Some of our students will choose to pursue medical school, and we would love to see them return home and provide this community with the highest quality healthcare they can. To you, to your loved ones, to all of us. But to do that, they need to have a strong foundation in physics and science, and equipping them with the critical skills needed to diagnose, to innovate, and to heal. Their understanding of math ensures that they prescribe the correct dosages of life-saving treatments. Every calculation they make, every decision they take could affect the lives of countless individuals. But even for those not entering the medical field, physics remains essential. Many of these students will pursue careers in engineering. What does engineering have to do with healthcare? Everything. These future engineers will design, install, and maintain the infrastructure and life-saving equipment that our hospitals depend on. They will develop groundbreaking technologies that allow us to diagnose disease, conduct surgeries, and deliver compassionate, effective care. Without physics, these innovations falter before they even begin. So I urge you, this decision must not be made in haste. Consider that block scheduling affecting every other honors course, AP course, and everything that these kids are trying to build their foundation on. It simply can't be a reaction to budgetary constraints. Why not seize this opportunity of having a reduced cost from the retirement and take this opportunity to have this temporary, part-time, full-time substitute, wherever we're calling him, give this students and these students and this community the stability they deserve, the opportunity to continue this plan, take the time to not make this decision in haste, excuse me.
That's 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Let's make this decision that puts the people first.
Else in the room? All right, seeing none, we'll go to online. If you are interested in making a comment, please raise your hand. All right. Seeing no hands raised, that will conclude the first public comments portion of the agenda. And we will now move on to the business manager's reports. Mrs. Smith.
You've received copies of the treasurer's reports for the period ending April 30th, 2025 for the general fund, cafeteria fund, and for the activity fund accounts. We are submitting these to the board for your consideration of approval.
I'll take a motion to approve. Need a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. A second.
Second, I don't know who first did or.
All right, we
second.
got Mrs.
Sorry,
LaCroix as a first. All right, any questions, comments, concerns on those? All right, hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay,
All right, you've received copies of the budgetary transfers for the general fund. We are submitting these to the board for your consideration of approval.
take a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve.
Any questions? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
You've received copies of the listing of invoices for the general fund and cafeteria fund for the period ending May 13th, 2025. We are submitting these to the board for your consideration of your approval for payments.
I take a motion to approve the bills.
Motion to approve.
Okay. All right, any questions, comments?
My only question, sorry, I know it's been a long, but I had it. So there were a lot in there that had wrong date. Was there like, there was just a lot in there that was like a wrong date?
Avoid.
Yeah.
A check it was ran on the wrong, with the wrong date put in, so it was voided
Okay.
out and reissued.
Okay, I just was curious, was that like a computer glitch or was that just, it was just wrong date?
Wrong
Okay,
date
and then
was
the,
wrong.
and then the other one, I was just wondering, because there was a large one then that went to, when the one for 833,344, that was wrong remittance. Was one of the school district.
Oh. Cause the first line, that was the check, over to, LCTC
Okay.
for the bond.
Oh, gotcha. It was East Lake County School District. Yeah, it was wrong remittance.
Yes, because it, and the second line of it, it had, you can't see it here, but it said East Lake Home School District, and then it was, attention someone else, and they didn't want it or
Got
something.
attention on there. Okay.
Yes,
All
so
right.
we voided it and
That's what I was
reissued it.
just- Okay, perfect. Thank you. That was it.
Because the addresses are saved in the
Yeah,
system,
I get you.
but when they change it, because we'll get invoices that say that they want it to an intention of, and then
But they
they'll
don't.
put that
The
in
check
there. And so,
It'll pull it in. I
Yeah.
got you.
so,
I'm all good.
okay.
All right, we can roll call vote for this?
Mr. Albert?
Yeah.
Mr. Badger?
Yes.
Mr. Eisenhower?
Yes.
Mr. Gardner? Mr. Cosmic?
Yeah.
Ms. McCoy?
Yes.
Mrs. Meyer?
Yes.
All right. We'll move on to the budget presentation.
While that gets started, if I may, since so many people did, we don't often get to talk education. Since so many people did come with the physics concerns, I just would like to address that if that's okay.
Please do.
Yeah, I want to assure both parents in the room, any students in the room, we're going to have physics in some form or another. The idea here was never to drop the physics program. I too had Mr. Grube, and that's why I'm not a weatherman. And I went into education, chemistry, actually. So having that chemistry background, I understand the importance of the sciences and what we offer here at the high school, and having served as the principal for so long. I was a big part of working with the faculty here to build what we have, and I don't mean buildings, Ron, I mean the programs that we have here. So fully aware and understand the concerns about not having physics. We are exploring all options, all possible options, from dual enrollment, partnering with school districts, part-time people here. We also have another opening in the science department that we still need to fill, where we're hoping to find somebody with a physics background to ultimately teach it here in-house. That is, of course, the ultimate goal. The bureaucracies between PCERS and teachers union and at the state level to be able to easily fill a physics position right now at times seems insurmountable for us. We've had this advertised and attempted to fill it. We had one qualified applicant. I will just say qualified, not acceptable to us. I'll leave it at that. The state had 14 physics certifications last year, 17 the previous. So there's 31 new teachers going into the field, where in the past it's been hundreds. So they're just not out there. So it is a struggle. We are working hard to come up with ideas and plans. Mr. Barber is on the table. He's very difficult to bring back to retire and go in the same position that he retired from. There are ways you can do that, but you have to be actively searching for a physics teacher. The budget is a part of it. There are 35 students signed up for physics. The high school may possibly have less than 500 students in it next year. We are declining enrollment, so it is becoming more difficult to be everything to everyone. And we have to get creative in maintaining the opportunities for our kids. So I can assure you we are working. The ultimate goal is to be able to offer it in-house in our classrooms with one of our employees, but understand that is a challenge, and we may need to work together to be very creative in how we fill this position. So thank you for coming out and voicing and advocating for your kids. I appreciate it. I think I said to you, I don't like being in charge right now because we're seeing this shrinking of a quite proud district, and it's everyone right now. And it's everywhere. We're all declining in enrollment. Lowestoft's up a little. No reasons for that, but everyone's down in the county. Right now, our kindergarten numbers are sitting at 78 kids. So we continue to decline. The birth rates are down. But we're working to maintain those opportunities. We want to assure the parents of that.
Thank you for taking a moment to address. It's important.
All right. So, proposed final budget this evening. The board had asked that I provide some more detail along with stuff and to, go back to a prior presentation that we used to use. Because no one wants to see my budget presentation.
Oh, is that not? As you said the B word.
So, so there's a little bit of a different slideshow than you have seen in the last few years, giving you some more detail along with some more information on what is going in behind the scenes, which I think is great as we're talking through this. So I am very excited, but I see a lot of people weren't. So we will start with local revenue. These are monies that are produced right here in our school district. These are money coming in from all of you working. When you get your taxes taken out, this is where the money is going. From our taxes, from the admissions that you pay when you come to sporting events, things like that. So that makes up 53.16% of our budget. So in here, I'm gonna show you the changes we've made, but I'll also talk a little bit about what this stuff is made up of. Current real estate taxes is always something that everyone, you know, as people were saying, they don't want our taxes to go up. Well, we want our taxes to go up to maintain this. You know, it's very both ways. So, here you'll see our current real estate taxes on where they are standing. You'll see that it's a decrease of $116,860. That is because the state has issued an additional homestead credit this year. To push that credit, it flows through to us and out to the taxpayers. We don't actually receive that money. So you do see that going back off the real estate taxes there. The interim taxes are those things that, you know, you put up a garage, you do, something, add something onto your house, you get a extra little tax bill in the mail. That's a bit budgeted about 15,000. The public utility real estate taxes, those come in right around 15,400 every year. Payments in lieu of taxes, those are for like state game lands, those kind of things. We have a lot of them in our school district. That comes in around 55,000. Earned income tax, that is coming in right around 4.5 million. I will comment on this. We recently went from our earned income tax being collected right here in the county at the Williamsport Area School District. That is now being collected at Keystone. Tax revenue is flowing in much quicker. It's being processed quicker. So we're going to see over the next 2 years, a little different ebb and flow of how the money comes in and make adjustments to that. But it should balance out after the first couple of years. So this year we had the first 6 months were collected at the school district, collection office. And then in January, they switched over to Keystone. So, we're seeing that just in the first quarter, money's coming in very quickly compared to where it was coming in before. Real estate tax transfers around 260,000. Those are the sales of the homes. We collect a transfer tax on that. Delinquent real estate taxes of around 500,000. We did drop that a little bit this year as we're not turning over as much into a delinquent, so it's harder to collect when we're not turning it over because we don't have it as much. Our earnings on investments right around 300,000. Athletic admissions right around 54,000. That pops up and down depending on weather. The year, it's a rainy year. We had a little bit of rainy this year and it got cold quick this year. So that moves around just a little bit, but it's usually between 50 and 60,000. Activity participation fee, those are that $30 that athletes pay to participate in athletics. Device insurance, if you have a kid in school that has a Chromebook and you want to pay to protect their Chromebook in case any damage gets caused, that's that revenue. IDA funding is, money that we get for the IU. And that comes in right around 380,000. That goes up and down just a little bit each year. That's this year's amount. And we always budget the amount that we're collecting in the same year for that. Rentals around $3,000. We don't get much off of rentals. Most of our, rental stuff is, for the kids right here in the district, so we don't collect rental fees for a lot of that stuff. That's just our kids. And tuition payments from other schools. And, that's also made up of the summer school, and that's around 50,000. And miscellaneous revenue, these are just things that come in, tax certifications, tobacco fines, little things, those come in around 50,000. So overall, a local revenue of $18,903,465. Any questions on local revenue on the board before I move on? No? Okay. So state money. This is money that comes through the state and is distributed directly to the district. This makes up 45.82% of our budget. All right. And this is just a little bit smaller here. So, basic ed subsidy. That is where, when they put the subsidies out for education, where it says in there that, what we will be receiving. So that has been put in there at the $8,525,838. You will see that the share of Social Security has decreased. As you decrease in wages, your share that you get reimbursed for also decreases because you're not paying as much. So you'll see a little bit of a decrease there. Tuition payments, you'll see that has maintained the same, around $40,000 there. Special education, those that is also put in at what the state proposed in the initial budget, which is $1,569,962. Transportation is budgeted on what the current projection is for next year, which is $656,967, and that's always based on your prior year's transportation. Rental and sinking fund payments is our reimbursement for our current bonds that we have of $300,981. Medical and dental service is $31,000. Our state property tax reduction allocation, you'll see there where that changed. So that changed to $893,240. So that's the homestead that gets passed directly on through to the taxpayers. That's why you saw the decrease out of the tax revenue and the increase coming in here. So we'll receive the money, and what we do is we just take it off the tax bills. So it's a decrease to the tax bills there. The block grants, which now include that extra money that we're getting from the state of $1,432,646 is what they proposed in their budget when they came out with it, with the governor's budget. And other income from the state is the retirement reimbursement, and as wages change, that fluctuates as well. And that came in at $2,312,600. So for a total of the state revenue, we have $16,295,695. Questions on the state revenue? Federal monies. Federal monies are monies that come through to the district through grants and other agencies. These are basically our title programs. They amount to 1.02% of our budget. And those you see here, these we base off of what we're receiving for the current allocations. Title I, $294,468. Title II is $44,787. And Title IV is $23,196 for a total of $362,451. Any questions or comments on federal revenue? Now the fun part, the expenditures. The expenditures, first we're gonna go through the instruction. So these are all activities dealing directly with the interaction between teachers and students, including the related costs, which can be directly attributed to the program of instruction. This equals 56.2% of the budget. And here you will see your regular program. These include K through 1. So this is your teachers, their benefits, any purchase services. This is your charter school in here, your supplies through K through 12, and your titles also. So just a quick rundown here of some of the changes that we've made since the prior budget presentation was the decrease in wages. Some of that is due to the physics position. Some of it's due to a teacher resigning, which should result in a lower wage coming in for a teacher. Some of that is due to a change in hours. For some people, that fluctuates and that varies with differences as we make decisions during every board meeting. So there you saw a decrease of $86,756. Employee benefits, you see a decrease of $20,480. I did a benefits update and just updated selections of medical preferences and also with the PSERS and that also, so that made a little bit of change there. So overall in this area, we have seen a decrease of $107,236. Any questions about those ones? Good. So special programs. This is expenditures for students with special needs. This includes gifted, special education. The IU contract falls into a lot of this. It falls into a few other areas that I'll point out coming up. And we also have charter schools also in here as well. So again, you'll see here we have a little bit of change in wages, and that's just due to an hours fluctuation with one employee, I believe that was. And so you'll see a decrease of $1,464, employee benefits of a change of $600. The 300s is where you see the large increase. And that was due to the IU contract that we received. The IU contract came in $195,495.22 higher than last year. When originally putting this together, we budgeted an overall budget increase of about 7%. That percentage increase on that IU contract was 29.3%. And these are unpredictable costs. We could put this in here and one student or two students move and it completely changes. It changes daily just by changes in placements, changes in student needs. So that's why you see the big change in the budget is we're getting, you know, the needs and the services for the students. And everything else in this category pretty much stayed the same. The 500 I'll point out are the charter schools. So that's another large number. But overall, in this category, we see an increase of $139,109 over what was previously presented. Any questions there? Botechno education, LCTV, that was budgeted based on projections for next year, so that has stayed consistent there. Any questions on that one? Pretty easy one. Other instructional programs. So this is summer school, homebound, alternative education placements, Nittany Learning's in here, partial, Red Rock, I think that's right, Red Rock? River Rock, I'm sorry. That's in here. So you see here, our wages are low because that's just basically our summer school and our homebound, benefits that go with that. The Nittany Learning contract, they had budgeted a little bit more of an increase, so that offsets some of the, increase that we did see in the IU contract. So overall here, we see a decrease of $14,360. Any questions here?
I'm good.
Non-public school, we have no cost currently. Sometimes we can get costs in here, so I just wanted to make everyone aware that, you know, those costs we don't currently have, but we could end up with those kinds of costs. Expenditures for support services. So these are services that provide administrative, technical, such as guidance and help and logistical support to facilitate and enhance instruction. This is made up of 31.5% of our budget. So moving on. This is pupil personnel services. This is our guidance, our psychological services, our speech pathology, our audiology services. In here, we do not see much of a change from what was originally projected at the beginning of April. I will note the IU contract in this area did come in lower than what we were projecting. So you do see the decrease in there. That's a decrease of about $10,788 overall. I'm just gonna keep going unless someone stops me with a question.
No, so.
Okay. Instructional staff services. This is our computer technology staff, our school library, our curriculum, our instructional staff development are all put into this category here. The 300s, you see an increase of $10,000. Our website design, our website needs to be upgraded within the next, not the next 2 years, correct? Right, it's a requirement and the cost of that is about $10,000, so we put that in there. And we also found some computer that we needed for the tech building that were missing from our budget, and so we added those in. So overall, you see an increase of $14,800 there. Administrative services. These are made up of the board services, the tax assessment and collection services, the superintendent's office, the offices of the principals, their secretaries, all of that in there. So you'll see an increase of $17,376. That was a personnel matter that has been discussed. So you'll see that increase there, and everything else has remained about the same.
And as per that discussion that we come.
Pupil health services, this includes your school nursing services. And in here, you see the only increase to the projection that was provided in April is of $17,298. And that was the IU contract. And I said, most of that you see in the educational piece in the beginning, but part of that is for additional services that we do see here. So you do have a slight increase there also. Business services, we've had no changes from the original projection in the beginning of April. Operation and maintenance of plant services. There's one big one here. And right after we had the budget projection on the beginning of April, I got to meet with our the guy that I do the hedging with for our gas and our electric. We have been very, very fortunate. I've been able to hedge really low rates. I had us hedged out for the last 3.5 years. That contract for both gas and electric expires mid-year. And we've started working on hedging that out and developing a plan and working on a budget with him. So for the portion of January to June, we are projecting about a $60,000 increase. So just to be forthcoming, moving on, we do not see any drop. And as we all know, we just saw an increase in our electric. We are projecting another 52,000 needed for the July to December portion to be added into not the 25-26 budget, but the 26-27 budget, just to make up those differences. We were hedged at just over 5 cents. So as we all know, that's about half the cost of what it is now. So it is a significant increase for us. We've been very fortunate to get good rates. We're going to probably either hedge short periods or only hedge part of it to try to get the best outcome. We're working on a few strategies right now. And those are worst case scenarios, but I think you need to be aware of it because that's just the reality of electric and gas right now. So. Student transportation services, you'll see there, this is the transportation needs. This is our regular transportation plus our transportation that goes outside the district. We have transportation that goes to Selinsgrove. We have students that are going to State College. Sometimes we have students that go out to the Berwick area. We send kids all over, and that changes very frequently, and all of that is included here. So you'll see that there has been no changes since we put this proposal together in April. That came in about $1,628,770. So. And then expenditures for non-instructional.
No, you're good.
Okay. Expenditures for non-instructional. These are activities concerned with providing non-instructional services to students or staff in the community. So this is primarily your student activities, your student clubs, your athletics. Here we've made no proposed changes into the budget. We did bids, it came in pretty close to where they were projected. So after we do our own bids here, we then go and look at the municipal or the other bidding companies and look to see where they came in at. And we actually did very, very well. We found one item that we were able to get cheaper. So our bids were very pleasing this year. And we sat down and went through those and, took stuff out and, changed and said, is this a want or is it a need? We did go through a lot of that and we were able to cut a lot of that costs out. So we were able to maintain it because the costs of things are really high right now. So the prices have gone up significantly for things. So that came in at $831,399. And then on to our other expenditures. This is our debt expenditures, any transfers to any other funds, refunds to prior year revenues, etc. This is a 10% of our budget. And this here is made up of our bond payment of $3,587,851. So that has not changed because we're able to project that out each year. We'll show in here, there is no budgetary reserve. As previously discussed, we were putting this together to get as close to zero as possible, and we didn't want a budgetary reserve creating a tax increase. So anything that we need outside of our budget will have to come from the fund balance. I just want to make sure that it's very clear if there is no extra wiggle room for anything in this budget. Everything will be coming directly out of fund balance. So summary, our total revenue is $35,561,611. Our total, which is a decrease of $18,411, but that's because of a decrease in expenditures in Social Security and retirement. Our expenditures are $35,837,014, which is an increase of $116,199. That is due to the IU contract that we have included into this budget that we do now have. Even though we have that contract, at the end of the year, it's balanced out and it may change a little bit there as well. So that creates a deficit of $275,403 with no budgetary reserve. And that electric also contributes to the increase. So, the board had asked, to see a no tax increase, what we could do there. We can do a no tax increase with a deficit of $275,403. What that looks like here is when we put that on, the median property for the homestead. Homestead is the credit that you see on your tax bill. And when we put that on there, you'll see your tax bill will actually go down this year. It'll go down $35. So, that's for the average household median. And you'll see that still creates that deficit there. And, I just threw out the extra rates in there because we always do. So you can see if you did a 0.18 increase, that would show a $13 credit, change on the tax bill and $132,403 deficit. And then I did the 35.35 mil increase just to show that would do increase on the tax bill of $11. And that would create a surplus of $2,597. We just threw those out there so that you guys see them, that you had them. So fund balance. Fund balance where we were on June 30th, 2024, just over 3.9 million. Looking over the budget, trying to project where we're gonna come in next year, for June 30th, 2025. We're looking at 3.6 million, using just under 300,000 of our fund balance there to cover some costs. Originally that had the budgetary reserve in it, and was around $1 million deficit. So that is coming in right where it's looking. The budget projection use for 25-26 is the $275,403, which should take our fund balance down to 3.3 million. But again, we have, budgetary reserves, so that could be impacted just a little bit. If you decide to change something up in what is already in this budget. So moving forward, the final budget will be adopted on June 10th, 2025. Any questions? Comments?
Was there anything figured further out the valley in the meantime as far as?
Well, we have not received the insurance quote back yet for this year.
I'm glad you said that. What did we build in for that? Because I know originally it was you did a 6%. But did you, I know we talked about it. Did we,
I did not change anything.
because they thought it's gonna be between 10 and 30% increase, right?
What they're saying.
Which is, so this is now gonna go to probably closer to like, we're in a deficit of 400,000 or 500,000. Because we budgeted in what, 6%? Did you budget in 6 usually? And it's probably gonna be between 10 and 30% because of the valley. What does that fall? Where is that? Would be under buildings?
No, it's right here. Right here. Under your 500 in buildings, I budgeted a 7% increase.
And it's probably gonna be between 10 and 30, right?
Is what she said at the office is what they're saying, but we don't know because we're still waiting for the underwriter to come back.
Right. So we're minimum, we're gonna be like 3% over what we're budgeting already, probably. I was in that worst case scenario.
$5,000.
If it's at 10%, okay.
I'm gonna do 30% for you too. 30%, you're looking at 30,000.
Okay, so between 5 and, let's call it even 300,000 over.
30.
Yeah, well, if you know, okay, no, I'm adding it into the end. So if you go 30,000, we're coming in at 275 over, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So like, Yeah.
Got phone my brain at 8:30 at night. So I just figured, yeah, for 275 or 300 over.
And those will be additional things that will have to come out of the fund balance.
Randy, I have a question.
Okay.
I know last year, or maybe early in the summer, it was talked about possibly looking at the option of doing the budget for this year, starting on a zero base. Was that taken into consideration at all with this budget?
Everything. I went through, and looked at everything. The buildings were sent out their stuff and started. A lot of the stuff is really, like, we're cutting stuff to maintain costs of supplies. And the biggest drivers in our budget increases are wages and benefits. You look at supplies and we're telling them, hey, you can't spend no more than this. You have to cut some of this stuff out. We can't provide you all of this stuff. So yes, everything has been looked at. The admin team went through all their stuff, that they gave to me, and, you know, going through the athletic bids and stuff, there was a lot of things that we were just like, we can't do it this year. We can't, if we put that in, it's gonna make us increase our budget. Like, we can't do these things. So there was a lot of that done. And it's hard when you're adding a new program too. So, I mean, when you're adding a new program and you're saying, hey, we can't, you know, so it is very difficult.
Not to mention a $23 million project. that we're gonna do. Right.
That's part of the cost. They're not part of this budget. That's a different budget.
And still no tax increase.
There's gonna be, we have said that we will not increase taxes for the project.
I may not know a lot about the budget, but I do know enough to think that you guys are doing your job and trying to be as fair as you can to the taxpayer. I've sat on this board for 8 years. And I've watched it every year. Every year. Same people come to the podium, talk their talk. At the end of the day, they want more. There's only so much you can give. And this district's giving it. We got a brand new facility that we're under right now. Over 19 positions were cut from this program in the last, 10, 12 years? 19 to 21? That's not trying to stay base. I'm sick to death of listening to it. I understand that you want, more, which is fine. Everybody's entitled to that, but don't think for a minute that these people sitting on this board and our superintendent is not doing what they can do for this district. You saw all these people stand out here about the physics program. What did they want? A physics teacher. Every student that comes to this school ought to be entitled to it. And you want to know the main reason why we're going down in enrollment? It's because you're not offering everything a kid needs. And they're finding it someplace else. And you continue to do that, they're going to continue to find someplace else to go. That's why your numbers are going down. Not to mention the fact that we're just not having kids like we used to. It isn't anybody's problem, fault. It's just straight across the board, that's the way it is. And I mean, no disrespect at all, but I've sat here for 8 years and I have taken it and I've listened to it. And I've watched the increases that we endure every year. For the first 4 years of me being here, watching those increases on the cyber charter schools.
I watched it go from $275,000 a year to over $1 million. But yet you guys sit out there and tell us that you gotta do something. You gotta do something. Well, we have done something. Everyone on this board and previous boards have tried to do what they can do. But you cannot continue to think for 1 minute with a little bit of common sense that something has to give somewhere along the lines. What do you want to do? You want to cut more programs? You want to cut more teachers? I think teacher contracts are coming up, right? Why don't we just cut them in half? See how many people we get back. See how many good one teachers we get. I apologize for getting a little loud, but I've held a lot in for a lot of years. And it put me over the boiling point today, and I hope a few of you out there are happy for that. But this district has cared nothing more about these kids. My kids have gone through here. And they have opportunities, and that's what I hang my hat on as far as me advocating for the programs and doing the things that, you know, that fulfill these kids' young lives. There's too many out there that don't have this opportunity to do the things that they do. I'll bring in my tax stubs from 20 years ago. We'll compare notes. We'll see how much of a difference it's been in 20 years with all the projects that have been going on and the things that we've had to do and endure. I guarantee you, it's pretty fair in this district.
Any other thoughts? I do have to say this is, excuse me, probably the most detailed breakdown that I've seen. This is my fourth budget, and a lot more information has been given to us, and that's fantastic. So thank you very much for that. I know Sharon.
I think Brandy,
Has been-
I'm just the pain that.
I don't mind doing it. I love going through it all.
I wanted it all too, but I ran into Sharon at Lowe's and I just took the leash off. I was like, just go. Ask for it.
So to the point is sat up there for many years and sitting on this side, and I think we need to be as transparent as possible. To your point, Dan, you don't want to cut programs, and I think trying to run programs as lean as possible. I think we need AP Physics. I really do, and I also doing AP Physics online it's physics, right? So we're trying as hard as we can. But you also have to balance, and you know, Mr. Rinker, I'm sitting up here for the kids and trying to budget the balance as well as we can. But I think the most important thing is our children's education and making sure that we have strong foundational leaders for our future, because that's what they are. And so I get slightly incensed as we're pitching every dime and every nickel that we possibly can. Thank you very much. Saying that we're raising taxes because we like to spend like crazy. No, we don't. I like to offer opportunities for our children. Yes. That's why we didn't do volleyball right away. That's why those girls are out there fundraising for everything possible that they can. So we can offer that opportunity because it is the fastest growing women's sport. We are trying to create this district for our children to have the education they need. And unfortunately, because the Valley was not taken care of, and for that matter, later over the last 40 plus years, we're now having to make a decision while trying to not make a financial impact on the community. You know, having to close the school, having to redo the school in a time where it costs more than it did 5 years ago when a board was offered, you know, a quite lower loan in order to make and did make a decision. And, you know, it's frustrating to sit up here and try not to do a tax increase and try not to lose programs and have a declining rate. And we're trying as hard as we can. And honest to God, I want to see this district thrive. And I don't want to lose programs. I want to make sure our kids go on to be the biggest and the brightest. So if you think that, you know, I'm not pinching every dime, I am. If you think I'm not on the horn talking to her, I am. We're all trying. So, you know, I just think that that's why this is transparent. That's why they want it all out there. So you all see where the money's going and what we're spending it on and what we're trying to do. I'll get off my soapbox too, because I just want you all to know that we don't take anything lightly. And making decisions on all that and trying to do what's best for the kids with what we have without impacting the community. It's fun. So anyway, sorry.
Go good. Before we go any further, we started at 7:05 tonight. We still have a fair amount of things to get through, including administrator reports and voting on topics. So at this point,
We haven't had to do this in a while.
I'm starting with you today, Mr. Blake. We need to, I need a motion to extend the meeting by 30 minutes. That would take
Motion
us
to
to
extend.
9:35. All right, any questions or concerns about that? All right, all in favor of extending to 9:35, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, very well then. Any other, just last minute discussions on the budget? All right.
So just to confirm, I'm bringing our budget, a final budget back with no tax increase. The amount that's in the agenda, for approval in June.
Thoughts? This is an opportunity to make adjustments prior to that vote.
Because tonight, after you make a motion to approve that, then I gave you all the draft of what goes out. We'll run the advertisements in the paper. We will post it for the public to see prior to 20 days prior to the June 10th adoption. So I just have to make sure it is exactly what you're looking for.
Look at me. You're like,
I
is
see
she
that you were
gonna say something?
Mr. Albert. I figure we probably want to start this conversation.
So my one part of the conversation. So with the homestead, if I'm reading this correctly, no increase in millage still gets the reduction in taxes of $35. A 1.8 increase in millage gets a reduction in taxes to the taxpayer of $13.
Yes, but then at that point you switch to, no, that would be correct.
No, I'm so okay with that one. It's the 0.35 increase that would then cause a technical tax increase.
Correct. And those are based on the median household, which is what is used for the homestead.
And what's the median household right now?
So that is based off of assessed values. So I'm gonna say this number, you're gonna see it's low, but that's because our assessments are low. Of 121,000 is our median for the district. So it means all of our houses together that
Yeah.
qualify for the homestead. Those are houses that qualify for the homestead and apply for it and receive it. So there could be houses out there that don't.
Didn't opt in.
And what was the increase last year?
We did a point.
Look it up.
We did increase last year. Oh, trust me. I remember. It was fun. What was our millage rate? It was like. How you make it? I can't remember. We did do it. Because it was, see, because we balanced it. We were long. conversation.
That reports is my favorite.
We were at 16.53.
It was time
So,
for.
yeah, we went up 5.3.
5.3.
No, 5.4. You're 5.4.
Ah, see, it was right.
Five-
Ah. I said 0.54. Oh my gosh.
So
So we did 0.54.
5.6. All right, I can't do math on
We're both on.
5.6.
With that, that's cost. Based on 121,000.
I need a calculator. I can't do that in my head.
You do it last year.
We
But
were
it
both
was-
sitting here with calculators
But
last
it's a
year doing all that.
calculation. So, you have to do it. $67.76. $67.76.
I came at 67.1.
Yes. So, and homestead increased, so it offset it by a certain, I wanna say it offset it around $30. So I think it came out to right around $37.
$37.
I think so, something like that, because homestead also increased last year.
And then with this year, you're looking at. Year of the refund of what?
It's not a refund, it's just the tax would go down
Decrease.
$35.
So we net neutral from last year.
So then you're equaling yourself out. And if you didn't do it tax.
Last year, yes. That's not fuzzy, that's fine.
That's fuzzy math, yeah.
It's fuzzy math. So even if we did a 0.18, we
And that
still
would be
come
why
out.
I would not understand the budget.
Even if we did a point.
It's still an
If we did a
increase.
point, if we did a
Makes perfect sense to
0.18,
me.
if we did a 0.18, we still wouldn't increase tax burden.
But
Look at
that-
it that way. If we did a 0.18, we still wouldn't increase tax burden because that's.
On
offset.
those, on those that have-
how much would that cost taxpayers?
and
The valley
on
still
those-
is open.
Well, you know.
So we'll have that conversation.
Yeah, that's for next meeting.
but
Yep.
People
That's
wonder all the
just
time.
on the properties that
Valley's
have
still,
the
valley's still
homestead.
open in this budget. Hence the tax increase,
No.
or hence the insurance increase.
Those suggestions for Brandy to take back with her.
Are we're either doing no or 0.18, so, but we have to figure that out.
I'll leave that. for you, but don't keep me sharing.
Why don't you go out with a bang?
Yeah.
Come on.
It has to be a board's decision. It takes 6, so.
Exactly.
On what we do.
Lots. Thoughts on 0 or 0.18? Which one's going?
So both of those two net a decrease in our taxes this year for homestead.
Right, so
For the properties that have.
For the property.
the properties that have
There's
homestead.
approximately 3,700 properties that have homestead out of our like 6,000-ish.
And if we go with a 0.18, it's $21.60. If it doesn't, if you didn't opt in to homestead on the median,
On the median.
yeah, on the median. $21.60,
On the median.
which is
assessment.
121.
And that gets us
It's
100.
no increase, we're in the whole 300,000, which we'll have to take from general, or not general fund, from the fund balance. At 0.13, we're looking at taking right around 150. No, well, yeah, because it's probably getting, I'm going high.
Oh, yeah,
Well,
we're gonna add
The insurance, yeah, so let's go 150. So it's difference between 300 or, yeah, 300,000 or 150 from fund balance.
So
So that's
taking
about-
into consideration insurance for the valley, potentially, even if we did do the 0.35 increase, we'd still be in the hole. Because we're adding another potential.
Oh, absolutely,
$30,000.
yeah.
So instead of being
Yeah.
2,900 head, we could be 26,000 behind.
Right. We'll be in the hole all the way around.
And you have no budgetary reserve.
Yep.
That's worked out real well for us over the last years. I know about it.
How's things, Bill?
Rather see our balance be a little lower. Look at 0.18.
So 0.18 is that the majority thoughts? Mr. Gardner? McCoy, thoughts? If there aren't any objections, then I'm gonna suggest we take the 0.18, move forward with that.
Okay, so when we get to that motion, you'll just have to confirm the amount and a 0.18 tax increase on that.
That's when we get to the budget vote here.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so in lieu of time tonight, we're gonna, for the moment, we're gonna skip the superintendent's report. So we can get to the items that require voting, gotta take care of business first, and then if we have time, we'll go back. Is that sound right? We're gonna vote. real-
Tyler's like, are you kidding me?
It's because he's going first.
Joking. That's what he's mad.
All right, so the general agenda items, are looking through these, I think we can combine all of them, 7.1 through 7.8. We'll take a quick moment to refresh your memory on those, and then I'll take a motion to approve them. All right, we good? Take a motion to approve? Motion approved.
Second.
All right, any questions on any of those? All right, hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye, all opposed. All right, 7.1 through 7.8 are good. Move on to personnel. Again, I think we can combine 8.1 and 8.4 through 8.4. If there are no objections, I'll take a motion to approve that.
Make a motion. Approve. Second.
Any questions? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Very well. Academics, 9.1 approval for graduation of those members of the senior class of 2025 who will have met all state and district requirements as of June 1st, 2025. That is 150 potential graduates as of today. That's a good number. Take a motion to approve those.
Motion to approve.
Any comments?
This is the fun one to approve.
Yeah, I like
I
this.
like this one.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. We'll see them in June. Transportation, again, we could combine 10.1 through 10.3. We'll take a motion to approve those.
Motion to approve.
Any questions? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed. All right, budget and finance, we'll go through these one by one here. 11.1 acknowledgement of the following high school student activities advisors and officers for the 2024-2025 school year. Motion to approve. I'll take a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second. Any questions on those?
What is the way of that?
That's, the tech ed woodshop.
Oh, okay. Oh, cool. All right. I figured before I approve it, should probably ask my question.
Good question.
I thought so.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. 11.2, approval to award bids for the 2025-2026 school year. Those were all attached for us to review.
Motion to approve. I do that quickly because I do have a question. So on the paper bids, we had white paper last year, right? That came in at 16,000, and then there's now it's 51 price color copy paper for like $8,000. I mean, the white paper went down, which was fantastic. So why are we spending $8,000 more on paper?
Okay, so that is because, last year we didn't purchase any colored paper. Because what we were finding was they had a million different colors in every building, and every building wanted different colors. So a few years back, we were like, no, we need to use up all this colored paper first. And then you get 6 options for colored paper. They're uniform building wide now, but we haven't purchased colored paper. And I want to say probably 3-4 years. You guys can tell me how long you guys have been yelling at me because we're out of this color. We're not getting it anymore. Find another color.
All right.
So we eliminated it.
So now colored paper is coming back in the continuity.
Into the budget because we've used all
your colored
the random
Staples
colors.
Warehouse
Oh,
stock.
okay. I
Yes.
got you. Okay, yeah.
Colored paper and
No.
colored lettering.
Um,
Explains a lot.
So, but now we have limited it to the same 6 colors that they're allowed, and it's every building is only allowed those colors.
All right.
So we won't end up in that kind of mess again.
Excellent. All right, that was my only question. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, it's all good. That was a good
Honestly.
question. All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed. 11.3, approval of the proposed final general fund budget in the amount of $35,837,014 for fiscal year 2025-2026, including salary and work schedules, and this would include a 0.18 mil increasage. I'll take a motion to approve.
Can I just comment real quick?
Of course.
Or I'll comment after you take the motion in a second.
All right.
Motion to approve.
Okay, now, Mrs. Smith, you make up.
Okay, this is just the proposed final, so you can come back at the final and say, we don't wanna do a full 1.8 mil, you can change it at that, but you can't go
We
above
can't
that.
go up. I remember
Yes,
that.
you
Okay, so
can't
it's
go up.
Capping
So-
at the one point. Okay.
Yes.
Go up.
So
Always go down.
that, I just wanted to clarify that, like, you can go down, but you cannot go back up.
Yeah, because
So-
we went in at 0.76 last year
Yeah.
and went down to 0.56.
Yeah. Any other questions on that? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed. All right. Moving on to the committee reports. Yes, Mr.
Like, abandon the committee report so we can hear from our. We have time.
How fast can you-
Yeah. I would rather hear the administrative reports than the committee reports,
Same.
because I don't have anything to.
I only have one little thing and it has to,
Yeah, why don't we go ahead?
no, it's really quick.
Mr. Blaze.
Do we need a vote on that? Or can we just make that change?
He's angry again.
Let's stop it. It's on the agenda.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna forego the committee reports this evening so we could get the administrative reports. And since Mr. Blaze was so excited, we will start with him.
Tyler, I swear, I don't mean to do this, but one thing for my committee report is, no, just,
We're
it's,
not doing this.
listen, you're gonna feel really bad when you hear what it is,
She's
so
a glory
stop.
grabber.
I know we all heard about the bus that crash that happened up in the northern tier. That was members of the IU Blast community. So just wanted you all to keep them on your prayers, that there were the students on that, in that van being transported, as well as bus driver were members of the IU Blast 17 community. So sorry, didn't know you feel really bad, don't you? Just want you to keep them on your prayers. So that was it. Now, Tyler, I swear to God, you can actually talk now.
I'm really.
I was at the concert. You have some.
So for the fifth year in a row, the Valley has, met all the requirements for our PBIS, tier one initiative. So we can sit down, with somebody in the IU, we go through all 15 different indicators and we have to meet certain, penalties for the 15 indicators for the fifth year in a row. We've done that, so I think that's something to talk about, of the hard work that all staff puts in, paper volume into it, so they enjoy that. And then the only other thing that I wanted to really share tonight is we have a second grader at the Valley, Aubrey Plasinski. She, put in a piece of artwork for the Bob Bay Association, contest for, Lycoming County. And she was one of the, recipients of winning that. So she'll be honored at the Lycoming County Courthouse Friday at 4:00. I think that's.
That's fantastic.
And talk about good stuff happening on board the.
Thank you.
Thank you for my time.
You have your ballot, you have ballot claim tomorrow, I was just gonna say, tomorrow at 3, or Saturday at 3. Sorry, look, I jumped this all the way ahead to the weekend.
Mrs. Wise.
Started out with a couple of celebrations from the high school. Andrew Ware, who played Scuttle in The Little Mermaid, was recognized at the Ray of Lights with an award. Matter of fact, the only award, to my understanding, that the board will receive for our outstanding production. And you may or may not be aware of it, but even though Mr. Johnson is not here tonight, I have to correct that and say he's now Dr. Johnson because he is receiving his PhD. And will be graduating from his program on Sunday.
Wow, that's great.
And then glad that you guys approved the stuff for graduation because we've been gearing up hard to get ready for that and some of the other stuff. Currently doing AP testing here in the high school and Keystone starting today.
Thank you. Mr. Flor.
As you mentioned, Monday night, last night was the combined fourth grade concert. We've done that kind of necessity a few years ago, but it's really worked out to bring them together both in music instructors. They really enjoy it, honestly. And the sound really fills the room. So we did a great job last night. Thank you for your expertise because I shared with them me running the light board in trouble. So how helpful that our high school students help out as well with percussionists and get involved in do some mentoring there. Again, thanks for those who came out last Friday for spring fling and braved the rain for the second year in a row. But the vendors reported it was packed, I mean, as always, and it's a big thanks to the community for supporting that. We got some good food. Good play some games, we got some great activities, so. We're just gearing up and celebrating, this year working together and the growth of students we've had, and we're getting ready for, they're ready to do that.
All right, thank you. Mrs. Albert. Yeah, I'll change it up. Make sure you pay attention.
All right, so we have a lot to celebrate. Local district, our students are great, our staff is great. We did celebrate our secretaries on April 23rd, so thanks for all their hard work, and we all do special things for them, because they deserve it, and they're the backbone. We have chorus concert tomorrow night at McCall, band concert Thursday, McCall Jazz will be at Period 7 at 7 o'clock Friday night, and again on June 21st at Indian Park at 7. I correct myself, the Period 7 one's at 5. So it's a time to go out and see what our young musicians are doing. We wrapped up PSSA testing. We test every single student in grades 5 through 8 for English language arts and math. And then we also test 5th and 8th grade students in science. We did our first round of online testing this year, which thank God we could actually make that. That went pretty flawless. In preparation for next year when we do it all. We also started that out for today for our students who are advanced and on the road. They did that. 6th grade was in Camp Susco last week in the rain and mud, and lots of sneakers were ruined. Despite the asking them to plan accordingly, but 6th grade sometimes forget to do that. Also, a shout out to Jen Hanna. She had 46 of her 6th grade ELA students get selected to have their creative writing published in what's called the Young Writers Fairy Tale Wretched Writers publication this year. So that's a testament to our educators and what they provide to our students. Lots of awesome things. Here.
Likewise. Mr. Piper. All right, Mr. Hammond, wrap it up.
Yeah, early intervention update. So as the school year is winding down, we are actually starting to plan next school year in front of education. So we're in the process of evaluating our students that are transitioning to school age and scheduling meetings for them so we can discuss programming and placement options for the upcoming school year. We have 10 students that will be transitioning from early intervention services to school age kindergarten. 4 of those students will be attending the Valley, and 6 of those students will be at Lighter. And I just wanted to thank Wendy Baker, our school psychologist, Jessica Donnelly, and Joy Snyder, our speech therapist, because they've been going around to a lot of the preschool programming to evaluate and observe these students to ensure that we have everything in place for them for the upcoming school year. Also, our special education teachers have been working closely with one another and scheduling tours of buildings for those students that are transitioning on to new buildings for the upcoming school year. So our 4th grade students have been making visits to the fall, and our 8th grade students have been making visits to high school. We want to make sure that they are familiar with the buildings, that they have a chance to meet teachers, to talk to students that are currently in those buildings, as well as meet the school counselors to make sure that that transition goes as smooth as possible for those students. And also wanted to offer up to parents that our administrators, including myself, will be working this summer. So if anyone wants to notify us for any kind of individual tours for those students, they're certainly welcome to do so, and we will schedule an individual tour with them as well. Talking about the extended school year programming, we do have that estimated cost included in the agenda for tonight. And we're looking at having 40 of our students receiving extended school year services. We'll have students going to the Williamsport Area Middle School for that, to the South Academy up on Reach Road. We'll also have students going to New Story and Stevens Grove, Story Heights and State College. And then we have a couple students that will be receiving individualized speech services because of their extended school year program. So we have that going on as well. And then the last thing I just wanted to say is we have a paraprofessional at the high school, Ms. Puffer, that is going to be resigning at the end of the school year. And she has done an outstanding job working with our high school students. And I just wanted to make sure that to let you know how much we appreciate having her with us. And she's actually leaving to become a full-time student herself and looking at becoming a special education teacher.
My son was crushed. He loves her. It was really he was bummed when he came home last night, so. All right, thank you for that. Since we're foregoing the committee reports, we've got time for the final public comment portion of the evening. Again, this is for residents and taxpayers. Come on up, state your name and your address for 3 unpaused minutes.
Ron Snell. I find it simply ludicrous that a board member would sit at this table and say the reason why the enrollment is going down in Montoursville Area School District is because of lack of opportunity for students. Our students have the most opportunity in our district than any other district. So it is absolutely ludicrous for a board member.
Mr. Albert.
Ludicrous.
Mr. Albert.
Respect, Ron.
Hey,
Respect.
I didn't interrupt you when you was going off on your tangent.
Interrupted plenty.
Not when you was going off on your tangent, I didn't. And the other thing I have is I didn't hear anybody on this board bring up that most years the final budget, when it's all said and done and the accountants take over and do the accounting, that there's always money that is over and above what, in other words, the expenditures don't meet what are less than what is projected. So there's money left over, and that's why the fund balance is like it is now. Because year after year after year, the expenditures weren't what? It was either the expenditures.
It's gonna be even next year.
Wait, it was either the expenditures weren't as much as was in the budget, or the revenue was more than what was in the budget.
It's gonna be even this year.
First, whatever first do. Toilet paper thing, I like that. But we got, before we go get more. So. Bravo. Secondly, the no increase tax increase. That works except for one thing. Where did that money come from? Comes from our taxes. So sure we still have taxes. But it looks good to people who don't think about it. And lastly, I did want to stand up for the people who love the physics. I'm not going to say we should increase the budget, but we do need to find some way to fit that in. I spent 40 years in engineering, and physics is very important. And the way the world is now, engineering is very important. And we need more of them. And we need more in this country because we're falling behind. So I know it's tough because we've been falling behind, so there's not as many teachers. But I think that's a good thing to concentrate on and getting that done. Good luck.
Thank you. We need it. Appreciate it.
Opportunity of no tax increase here don't come along very often. And this was a year. You're sitting on $3.9 million of general fund money. That's in a checkbook out here. 360,000 of it dedicated to offset feeders. We haven't used that money in at least 15 years. So it's just sitting out there. Still waiting $3.6 million of revenue that exceeded expenditures and so went into a general fund. This year, you started out with only $375,000. You know, in the year before, most of you, some of you got on the board. The 24-25, 23-24 budget year. There was quite a board discussion about whether we needed a tax increase or not. Eventually, we ended up, no tax increase. We had a shortfall of almost $800,000 on paper. You know, when that audit came through and you looked at it this past January, lo and behold, there was a surplus of $300,000. Now, there was no tax increase in that previous year because the board had argued enough to say, you know, we can possibly use some of that money we already have. And as it turned out, didn't need it. Now, you as a board decided in our current year, we needed to have a tax increase of $0.56 million. Okay, folks, it's not a lot. $56 on $100,000, that's fine. But it's still, it's this concept of having a tax increase, no matter whether it's big or small, a tax increase year after year after year.
What, 35?
Now, the 4 years previous to this board starting, 2 out of those 4 years, Paul, there was no tax increase. You know, Paul, I never got a thank you from you. I never got a thank you from anybody about no tax increase. But boy, were they in here telling me how they were gonna lose their home if I raised their taxes. So I always did due diligence, and I will admit, I took it personally if I had to raise taxes. I always figured like it was money that's taken out of my own pocket, and that's the last thing I want to do. But folks, you still have a chance. You haven't adopted that final budget yet. That's gonna come in another month. And maybe you could look at, you could take, my hearing's gone, folks, so I don't know, did you decide on the 118?
We did.
That was the highest.
Okay.
And Mr. Omer, I've given you an extra 40 seconds so far.
Pardon?
I've given you an extra 40 seconds so far. You're coming up on 4 minutes.
Okay, about that. Anyway, you do have an opportunity yet to roll that back to 0. And honestly, this coming year is the best shot that I've seen in a long time on it, have no tax increase. Chances of you having to take a little bit of money are very slim out of the general fund that you already have 3.9 million in. And I have a feeling that general fund is not going to go down too much, even after the audit of our current budget year. If I would have been.
All right, I gotta cut you off now. You're a minute and a half over.
Thanks for the extra.
You're welcome. Only because you served on this board for a quarter of a century did I lay you out 90 minutes, 90 seconds. All right, that will take us to adjournment. So I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll take a second. Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That meeting is adjourned. 3 minutes to spare.
Wanted to hand those out and kind of summarize them.
Thank you for you.